Hi guys, welcome back, and this time around I'm bringing you the AFUL Performer 5.2 and the TRI i3 Mark III. The AFUL Performer 5.2 is the latest from AFUL, while the TRI i3, the Mark III, is been out already now for maybe a month or so, maybe 2 months, but it's also one of the most recent releases from TRI. However, and I want to make this perfectly clear from the get-go, this is not going to be a comparison of these two IEMs per se, but rather a review that will show, and I get asked this question quite often, some of my favorite IEMs. Okay, and every one of these IEMs are part of that group of my favorite IEMs. The TRI and the AFUL have entered that group, that select group of these favorites of mine, of these IEMs that I listen to more often, that I just find that they have something which differentiates them from the rest of the hundreds and hundreds of IEMs which are out there, and that's the idea here. The premise is to show you guys 6 IEMs that I thoroughly enjoy, priced between $150 and $350. All are hybrids or tribrids or quadbrids, so they all have different configurations, and I'll run through that in a second. And the focus will, to a certain extent, be on the TRI, the i3, the Mark III version of the i3, and the Performer 5.2. Anyway, what do I have here so that we can get that out of the way straight away? I've got here the SIMGOT, the SM4, the Super Mix 4, a quadbrid priced at about $150, and it's here for a good reason. The combination of the dynamic driver, the DD, the the microplanar, and the PZT has, in my opinion, been done exquisitely well. And the SM4 shoots way above what you would expect for $150. I mean, it really is, in my opinion, that good. Okay. Next, the TRI, the Mark III, priced at about $219. Some places you can get it a little bit cheaper. This particular unit, I bought it from Hi-Fi Go. And it follows on the design that the i3 has always had, which is 3 driver types, so it's a tribrid. It's got a DD. It's been a 8mm in the past. Now it's a 10mm beryllium coated driver. A BA, a Sonian BA, a 2356, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, let me just make sure so I don't mislead you. 2356 exactly. And then a planar, a more conventional planar driver of 10mm. Next to that, I've got here the Dynaquattro from Binary Audio. Again, an unusual configuration, phenomenal IEM, honestly phenomenal. This and the Panon serial, in terms of just full dynamic driver IEMs, are without question amazing IEMs. You might ask, but Tony, why don't you have here the Panon serial if it's also that good? This just outdoes the Panon just enough for it to actually make this cut, but the truth is, the Panon, the serial, or the Dynaquattro are amazing IEMs. This just, I find, is just got just slightly better bass, a little bit more polish in the bass. It's a little bit more polished, and then the upper end as well is just that little extra more polished, a little bit more elegant. Next to that, one of today's main features, the AFUL Performer 5+2, which entails actually 2 dynamic drivers, 4 BAs, and then a microplanar. Once again, AFUL has gone, or has cut no corners. Beautiful 3D printed resin shell, a very elaborate RLC network inside. They've done their homework, trust me. Next to that, the DUNU DaVinci, the collaboration with Giz Audio. Again, another IEM which has an unusual configuration that we have two dynamic drivers, a 10 and an 8, then plus the 4 BAs. The 10 handles the more sub bass, the 8 handles the more mid bass, okay, and then we have two BAs for the mids, one for the highs and one for the super highs. So again, and all of them up to now have unusual or not common configurations. And then finally, on the right hand side here, the ISN audio, the H60, which maybe perhaps out of this group has got the more kind of, we've seen this configuration, two dynamic drivers plus 4 BAs. You know, the Hype 4 has got the similar thing, the Blessing, the Dusk as well, and same thing, the Blessing 3, the same thing. But what it does have is, or what it is a perfect example of what Penon is capable of doing, and what the ISN Penon's house sound is. So there you have it. Okay, with regards to the packaging, I mean, I'm not going to bore you with that. TRI always makes sure that their products come in a nice package, and the package is a proof of that. You know, it's got ample, more than enough, or more than adequate accessories. Let me just quickly. Okay, some tips. Some more tips there. Cleaning cloth. It brings the nice carrying case for the IEM, this particular one here. Okay, very nice. Cable is a stock cable. The IEMs themselves, a nice metal shell in this very unusual color, you know, this kind of purplish violet color. I don't know what to call this, but it's got a nice color. They look the part. They really look the business. I like the fact that they, you know, didn't actually put any writing on the IEM, or there is a little bit there in the side, but on the faceplate, that's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing there. It's you know, it's a blank canvas. It's nice. It just looks very classy, very understated. The cable is nice as well. So there's really nothing that I can point as a negative. I mean, it is a nice IEM in terms of its build quality. It fits beautifully. That's it, period. As for the AFUL, the same situation, you know, the usual packaging that AFUL has gotten us used to. Very understated, very straight to the point, no issues there. And once again as well, the accessories package, you know, adequate. It's got a nice selection of tips, which I'll talk about in a second. Okay, nice selection of tips. Carrying case. I'm not using the stock cable. I've opted for a different cable, only because I found that the stock cable, I was having some issues with the ear hook, and that's it. And the case as well. We've seen this case before from them. I will admit that I would have liked I'm not going to say the case of the Cantor, because that's a totally different price, but you know, a nicer case, maybe a case along the lines of what the Performer 8 had. That would have been nice instead of this just metal case. But again, you know, a case is a case. It's just to keep the IEM safe, and this does the job perfectly. I think you probably run a car over it. It's not going to really get that damaged. The money was spent where it needs to be spent, which is on the IEM itself. Okay, that's basically it. Let's jump into the sound yesterday. I'm going to talk about the TRI first. TRI has got definitely a mid-focused sound. It's a mids, and its vocals. That's the star of the show. Yeah, the bass it's a very nicely executed bass. It's not excessive. It's very smooth, but on occasions, and depending on the songs, yes, you will notice that, you know, it needed a little bit more mid-bass presence, like so something like Love Overdue by Egyptian. You notice that it, you know, there's a little bit missing there. Arancio Bossa from Andrea Razzuti as well. So, you know, songs which have a little bit more mid-bass, you will or might find that it's a little bit thin on that side, but it makes up by having, you know, in my opinion, at least into my ears and with my library, I mean, things like, for example, Seven Sisters by Dominic Miller. It just, you know, the mids are phenomenal. The planar and the way they've implemented the planar and the BA here, I really can't fault it. It sounds absolutely faultless, clean, detailed. You know, it's not aggressive, it's not harsh, it's nothing. It just is really well executed. And coupled to that, then obviously you have, you know, very capable technicalities in terms of the soundstage. It's great. I mean, nothing to be said. It's ample, it's big, you have that sensation of space which you would expect from planar. Fantastic detailed retrieval, resolution is phenomenal as well, imaging, honestly, both technically and in terms of frequency response, it scores, or it ticks all the right boxes. Only thing is, with songs which have a little bit more mid bass, it would have been nice if maybe this is just if they had maybe added a switch to just add a little bit more bass, would have been nice. Or then you can go down the road of just adding a little bit of an EQ and just adding a little bit of just a touch here. I would say maybe just two, at the very most 3 dBs at around 65, 68, 70 hertz at the most. I think that would be more than enough to give the energy that is lacking at least to the majority of the songs that I like listening to. And in a nutshell, that's basically it. It is a very competent IEM in terms of its vocals, in terms of its technicalities, and if that is what you are wanting or looking for, definitely this has done the job, or will do the job properly. It's one of my or it has become one of my favorites, because not only does it do what I just said well, but the fact that they've done this implementation so well of these 3 drivers. And I'm an owner of the previous i3s, by the way, which I really liked. I mean, it's one of those IEMs that makes sense to own. Okay, if you have the money to spare, this is one of those IEMs that should be part of a nice varied collection. Instead of just having copy paste of the same thing all the time, this is definitely one IEM that I would say yes, get it for sure. On to the AFUL, the Performer 5.2. AFUL, I think, has given enough proof of what they are capable of doing it. Be it the 5, be it the 8, be it the Magic 1, be it the Cantor, be it the Explorer, they all are really well tuned. Yes, some people might find the tuning a little bit overly safe at times, the case of the Performer 8 or the case of the Cantor, but again, I repeat, nothing that if you are EQ proficient, you can't just give a touch here or there and make it sound fantastic. In my opinion, personally, I think that every single one of those of the AFUL IEMs are well done, or well executed, or well tuned. Their design premise has been met. And if I have to say which is probably the one that is the least impressive out of the whole bunch, the Performer 8 will probably be that one. But by no means am I saying that it's not a good IEM. No, it is a good IEM. The Performer 8 compared to the Performer 5, the original Performer 5, it maintains the same dynamic driver, and because you have those extra BAs, it then makes that IEM become a more mid-centric focused IEM, more vocals and so on, and so kind of thins out a little bit the bass. But honestly, the performance that one or the other is capable of, be it the Performer 5, the original, or the Performer 8, is really good. I mean, the Performer 5 is, for me, still one of the better 1+4 hybrids that you can get. That's the reality. And so the Magic 1, phenomenal single BA. I honestly, to this day, still have some tough times understanding why people gave it such a hard time, because it is a very well executed IEM. What they had set out to do was done flawlessly. And oh, it's so expensive, and this and that, and blah 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 blah. Well, what about etymotics? Etymotics are equally as expensive, and to be totally honest, I don't think that what you pay as an extra premium for an etymotic translates itself to that extra amount of money in better performance. No, it doesn't. In my opinion, it doesn't. Besides the fact that the etymotics, with all due respect to those that can actually handle it, are raping your ears. I mean, it's as simple as that. But the Magic 1, in my opinion, is a very well executed single BA. Yes, fair enough, for the same amount of money you can get countless other IEMs. I mean, for the same amount of the Magic 1, when it initially came out, you could have gotten yourself an SM4 almost. You could have gotten yourself countless other IEMs, unquestionable. For a single BA, it does the work very, very well. Explorer 2 1+2, again, the formula and was repeated. Definitely you have the full house sound there in full effect. It sounds phenomenal for a 1+2. Actually, when I afterwards show you the graphs, you will see that there's a lot of similarities between the graph of the 1+2 and the 5+2. Really, really good IEM. That's the reality. For a 1+2 at $119, basically the same price as the Magic One. I mean, you can't fault it. You truly cannot fault it. It is a well executed IEM, offering performance for a 1+2 that a couple of years ago you would have paid close to $200 for. Okay, the Cantor, which came out as well recently, their flagship, in my opinion, one of my favorite OBA IEMs. I've heard different opinions about it. That it's perhaps a little bit too soft, a little bit too smooth, and it needs EQing, this and that. Honestly, I think it very much comes down to how well you are fitting the IEM, because yes, the fitment of the IEM in terms of the length of the nozzle so that you can get it inserted really nice and deep will play an important aspect in how good it will sound. That's unquestionable. But if you are able to do that and get it to be inserted as deep as it needs to be inserted in order to get that performance, you will not be disappointed. That's the reality. The Cantor is a phenomenal OBA IEM. Phenomenal. The 5.2 is, again, another winner. As simple as that. The bass is phenomenal, in my opinion. It's got more than enough rumble, more than enough mid bass to give, again, my playlist the desired impact that I want. So whether I'm listening to something like One Day at a Time from Try Lucid, or I'm listening to Arancio Bossa, Andrea Razzuti, or I am listening to Girl in the Red Dress by Greg Carucas, or I'm going to something a little bit more relaxed like, let's see here, Home by Dominic Fields Aim, the Performer 5.2 ticks all the right boxes again. So bass is very well executed in terms not only of sub bass but mid bass. It's clean, it's detailed, it's dynamic. The blending into the mids, no bleed, nothing. Male and female vocals come across very nice. And then the extension is where then things can be offered, depending on which tip you choose, can be offered in a different way. If you use, and let me get here, okay. So if you use, where are the tips? Yeah, there we go. If you use these tips, okay, if you use these blue tips, okay, you will get a sound which is very much extended all the way past 10k in a very kind of plateaued manner. Okay, it's detailed, it's clean, but it gives you the sensation that you are sometimes listening to music at the end of the tunnel. Okay, that's the feeling that I sometimes got with some songs. Not all, but I got that feeling sometimes. And for example, Thanks to You by Boss Skaggs is one of those songs. You got a little bit that feeling. If on the other hand you chose the white ones, these ones here with the blue nozzle, or then the black ones, which are basically identical to these ones that I have here from Panon, you don't have that plateau. It does help in terms of giving the soundstage a little bit more space, a little bit more air. But I found that the best tips for me, for my ears, were the BGVP wide bores, large size, so I'm not able to insert the IEMs deep, but I have, as you can see, the tip shoved right up into the face of the nozzle. So basically the nozzle is almost flush with the end of the tip. And with this attention to detail, like, on the Cantor, it also must be had, I was absolutely blown away. It opened up the sound completely. That microplanar came across very well. It gave that extra amount of detail that with the other tips was there, but it lacked space, it lacked atmosphere. With this wide bore, it was there, which again, is something that usually wide bores help with. But the fact that the actual nozzle neck allows for you to really shove the tip down deep, that really honestly made a huge difference. And in that configuration, I couldn't be happier. Soundstage is great, imaging is great, detail retrieval is great. There's really no flaws. On occasion, here and there, maybe, and I question this as it can be down to maybe the recording that I was listening. The planar sounded just overly intense, not aggressive, not harsh, but just overly, slightly overemphasized. Okay, but other than that, I can't fault it. So technically capable in terms of its frequency response, very nicely done. No peaks, no dips, no areas that are lacking in any way. And again, once again, highly musical. More musical in that aspect because of the fact that you have a bit more bass. More musical than, for example, the i3. The i3 perhaps will sound a little bit more cold, a little bit more clinical, because in certain songs you have that lack of bass, which takes away from the tonality overall of the IEM. And here I didn't have that problem. Over here, that aspect was, spot on. So overall, I can't say anything negative about the 5.2, because to my ears, with the music that I like listening to, it did everything perfectly. I mean, let me see here another song that you guys can afterwards struggle by TINUS, which is again another kind of electronic music that I like listening. Some of the electronic music I like listening to. Phenomenal. I mean, I really, it does it well. It just plays it well. It's one of those songs that I saw myself really cranking up my. I used not only the U key and the RU7 with the NX7, but I also used my FIO. I really saw myself cranking it up because I was enjoying it, and it scaled very well, which is again something that, because of the thinness that sometimes is present on the i3, I would say that the scaling here is not as competent as the scaling here on the Perfomer 5.2. Okay, I would say that maybe the i3 as well sounded a little bit more balanced out with the FIO, with the Q15, and as opposed to, for example, the Yuki or the RU7. But I mean, I'm talking minor, not huge difference. With the M15, for example, with the Q style M15, you definitely do emphasize the brighter, more clinical aspect of the i3. Over here, the Performer 5.2, I found it to be a bit more forgiving with what source you were using. Although I have to say that the Q15 was phenomenal, and then with the Yuki and the RU7 again were those three were my favorite. With the Q style, it was also very good, no denying that, but I just prefer more the overall way that the implementation of the DAC chips and the way that then combines with the bass sound of the 5.2 matches. It just gives me a more pleasant sound. Okay. Although, like I said in the beginning, this is not here for me now to say, oh, this one is better, this is worse. I will give you some brief comparisons here. The three IEMs here that perhaps have the most overall similar sound, I would say, are the SM4, the 5.2, and the H60. Okay, let me just break down that a little bit. When you initially listen to the three of them, they sound very similar. The difference is more that you notice that both the SM4 and the 5.2 have got a little bit more energy up top as compared to the H60. But besides that, they all have a very similar type of timbre, a very similar type of tonality, and a very equal balance across the whole frequency range. Okay. The H60 compared here in more detail with the 5.2, the biggest difference is, like I said, up top, where you notice that this has got that little extra amount of extension, a little extra more detail up top. Not huge differences, but there are. But then the timbre and the tonality, for example, the H60 edges out the 5.2 a few more times as well. And I guess it's like I was said, on those occasions that the planar here can come across maybe just as a little bit overly emphasized, because you don't have it here, because it's a more simple setup. you know, you have this having a timbre and a tonality which is more correct. Trust me, the differences are not huge, not big differences, no, but you definitely do notice that this has got a little bit less detail up top, made up or compensated by then having a better timbre and the tonality, you know, in a few songs as compared to the 5.2. Otherwise, both of them are really good. The DUNU, the DaVinci, probably with the Dynaquattro, the two that have the best bass. Really good. The bass is really good, and then the extension that you have, again, very nicely done. I mean, the BAs have been very well implemented. I would even I would go as far as saying that the BAs here are perhaps just that little extra more well implemented than they are in the H60 on occasions, because they are able to give that extra energy that maybe here and there, you know, it would be nice, but without losing any of the timbre and the tonality that the H60 as well also has. So I would say that these two, in terms of timbre and tonality, although there's a definite emphasis here on the bass, they have the nicest timbre and tonality to my ears, with a very close look. I would say that these three are probably the best when it comes to timbre and tonality. Okay, because although very different the implementations of the driver setups, it's really good. Okay, the one that has the least detail up top will probably be the Dynaquattro, then this has a little bit more, and then this is probably the one that has the most detail up top. But the balance that's then struck with the bass, they overall come out with a very similar sound. All right. The i3, it's the IEM here that kind of is the most easy to identify when you listen to all of them, because of the fact that it's comparatively so thin in the bass department, especially when you come from something like the DaVinci. You notice straight away that's the i3. It's very easy to notice, or as well from the Dynaquattro, you also notice it very easily. And I guess that's basically it. I mean, the Dynaquattro, like I said, for an all DD IEM, it's got a phenomenal sound. Honestly, the bass is really good. The cleanliness of the mid bass and the extension that the sub bass has, very well done. The mids are flawless. I would almost say that overall, in terms of mids, just focused on mids by themselves, I would say these three are the ones that are the best. The Dynaquattro, the Performer 5.2, and the H60. But again, guys, trust me when I'm saying the differences here are very slight or very minor. The reality is, any one of these IEMs or IEMs, which I believe in the way I look at it, are IEMs that I believe make sense to be owned, because they all represent a different approach, very well done in each one of them. Okay, so there's no clear winner here. If I was to look at value or price as the determining factor, then yes, this SM4 will be the winner here. But putting the price aside, each one of them has got excellent build quality. Let's forget the accessories and so on and so forth. In terms of build quality, excellent build quality, very well tuned. The way that they've all been tuned has the premise has been achieved perfectly. And they just give an overall very pleasant sound for what was or what was implemented. Obviously, there's little flaws here and there. On the SM4, you notice that sometimes the upper mids and treble can be a little bit less polished and a little bit more aggressive. Like I said, the i3, the Mark III, that lack of bass at times over here on the Dynaquattro, it would have been nice to have a little bit more extra detail like you get from a BA when it's well implemented, without that sibilance or that tonality that's associated with BAs. On the H60, again, a little bit more energy up top would have been nice, but it's not it's made up by the fact that you don't have any BA timbre or tonality. You don't have that metallicness of the sound. It sounds like a really well put together IM with various, it's a very the coherence here is very nicely done. I mean, it's not for nothing that I said that it sounds like a mini voltage, like the mini Pinon voltage. The DUNU, at times you notice that the bass can be a little bit overpowering and the mids suffer by that slightly. And then the Performer 5.2, again, if I have to point out any minor flaw, is the fact that the planar at times can sound just a little bit overly done. But that's, like I said, look, this is me listening to my music, to my ears, the way I like listening to it in terms of volume. You guys, when you listen to these IEMs, might have and probably will have a totally different opinion, but I thought it would be interesting to show you these, to basically do the review for the 5.2 and for the i3, the Mark III, and show you why they have now become part of this group of my favorite IEMs, because, like I said, they've ticked all the right boxes in terms of what I believe is necessary, which is sound good, be well built, and just be different, not be just another copy paste like we see so many times now in the chi-fi market. And in that aspect, I applaud a brand like AFUL, which doesn't go down the road of wanting to launch multiple IEMs in a year. I applaud ISN and Pinon as well for following the same type of philosophy. The same thing goes for SIMGOT, the Tri i3, again the same thing. I mean, the i3 has been around for many years, and they've, instead of almost every month wanting to launch a new version, now they've waited, they've done their work. You can see that it was a well implemented. And Binary, I mean, from what I know about them, they seem to be a company as well that have their head screwed on right. I mean, DUNU, we don't have to say anything. DUNU knows what they are doing. They've known what they're doing for 20 years now, probably. So each one of these brands, they don't go down that road of churning out IEMs like if they were hamburgers or anything of the sort. Whatever they launch, they want to make sure it's launched properly, and that's the reality. Anyway, guys, I'll show you in a second video the graphs, just for the sake of showing you the graphs, and that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You take care now. Bye bye.